Is your soul trying to communicate with you and you're not really sure if you're getting the memo? My name's Sonia Choquette. Welcome to my channel. It's Sonia on the Road Show. I'm still traveling as I was last week, so please forgive the backdrop. Less than ideal, but the message is important, so that's what we want to focus on. Is your soul trying to communicate with you, and how can you be sure you don't miss the memo? If you're new to my channel, welcome, welcome. I think your soul brought you here. And if you're coming back, welcome back, because we are holding hands and rising up together in some dramatically transformational and a bit stressful times. So let's get on with the subject. Is your soul trying to communicate with you, and how does it communicate with you? So I'm going to talk about several ways, starting with, and you might be feeling this, so if you do, please put it in the comments. Just generally, ants in my pants, don't feel good in my skin, just generally uncomfortable. That is a big indication that your soul is communicating with you. And what it is trying to bring to your attention is that who you are authentically, internally, energetically, aligned with your spirit, and how you're showing up in the outer world, or what you're saying or doing or engaged in, aren't aligned. And it's not that you're necessarily way off track. You might just be a little off track, but it's turning up the volume. Your soul is turning up the volume and saying, it's now. Now is the time to make those adjustments. Now is the time to make those corrections. This is not the time to just go unconscious and carry on and just keep ignoring that you don't feel right in your skin. You don't feel right with who you are. And it's making you uncomfortable because it is an energetic disturbance. What do you do with a message like that? Well, you get honest. You start examining what I'm saying, what I'm doing, what I'm showing up to, what I'm tolerating, what I'm agreeing to, and is it working for me? For example, maybe you're overgiving. Maybe you've had a lifetime of being too generous, giving more than you should because secretly you're afraid to ask for anything. Maybe you are withholding. Maybe you've had a lifetime of being so self-protective that you've cut yourself off, and you could really be more available. You could be more energetically receptive and open and giving, and not so self-absorbed. The other side of that. So that is the biggest message that people are getting these days. Almost everyone I'm talking to is saying, I feel really weird, really uncomfortable. I don't know if it's the world, if it's me. It's both. Because we're in the world and we're creating the vibration of the world. But the way to get back into a harmonious frequency is to start looking at, well, how have I changed? Maybe what I'm doing was resonant with who I was 5 years ago, or 10 years ago, or 5 months ago. We're all evolving. We're all being asked to become more conscious, more self-loving, more balanced, and wherever that's off kilter, we're going to feel it until we make the choices to come back. Now, having said that, you can continue to just ignore it. You do have free will. You don't have to make the choice to come back, but you just have to make the decision to live with the discomfort. Another big way that the soul is communicating to us now and trying to get your attention is through dreams. And maybe you're not generally a person who dreams much or remembers your dreams or forgets them by the time you have coffee. But a lot of my students and clients are telling me that they've had massive, epic, profound, and often troubling dreams. For example, I have a beautiful client who I've known off and on and have mentored for over 25 years. And he is one of the loveliest, most generous, beautiful souls. But he has a drinking problem. And he's not an ugly drunk. He's a stupid drunk. When he drinks too much, he becomes real loosey-goosey with his money, and he makes commitments, and he gives things away, and he just gets himself in a lot of trouble. And he resolves, never again, I'm going to stop drinking, this isn't going to work for me. And he hasn't. So the other day he said, I had a dream that I was in my doctor's office, who he knows and has known for years and who loves him. Everybody loves him. And he said, my doctor was really troubled, and he said, I have terrible news. You have cirrhosis of the liver, you have cancer, and you didn't take my advice earlier, and now it's too late. He woke up. He was panicked. First thing he did in the morning is he called his doctor and ran in for a whole bunch of tests. And quite frankly, he didn't even get the results yet when we talked. But he said, that dream was so powerful, and I was so scared that I'm still scared. And so scared, I don't ever want to drink again. I want to be alive. I want to be healthy. Okay, that was a soul message that landed. Now we'll see if he stays consistent with that, but it certainly got his attention. And he said it was more than just a dream. I felt it. That's the way your soul is going to get your attention. If you've been ignoring it, or if you've been playing, cat and mouse with it, it's like, I hear you, but I don't really want to bother to change, then you might have a big dream that just grabs your attention. Now, it doesn't have to be ominous. For a lot of people, it is because you have been ignoring your soul. But another client of mine also shared that she had an incredible dream. She said that she was standing up on a stage, and it was her and Elvis. And so Elvis was introducing her, and that she went out on stage and she sang. And she was singing to women. And she said they were just cheering and laughing and crying. And she said, I was so happy. And I woke up. And then she said that dream, that feeling was so strong that I knew that I had to do something to uplift the spirits of women. And she said, I've been thinking for years that I would write some kind of a book about, especially to older women, and how not to feel invisible. And that was my audience. So I haven't done one thing about that feeling, but now I'm going to do it. Even if I never succeed, at least I'm going to do it. Now, but that is that your soul made a commitment. Your soul had an ambition. You had, some people call it a soul contract. I don't know that it's necessarily a contract as much as it's a commitment, in that you're not ever obliged to do anything you don't want to do. But these kinds of dreams are a big reminder that there are some things that your soul really does want to share, does want to express, does want to contribute. And now is the time to do it. Another way that your soul is going to get your attention is going to make you extremely aware of where you want to be, where your soul wants to be, and what your soul wants to be doing, even if it's not something you've allowed for or acknowledged or made important up until now. I have one client who lives in Michigan, and she says, I'm from a beautiful family. I live in the same town I was born in. I'm around my siblings. I'm around my nieces and nephews. Never married, lives alone, but she said, I'm with my family all the time. And now she's 47. She said, I just woke up one day and said, I have to move to Hawaii. And everybody in my family is laughing at me or dismissing me or telling me I can't. But she said, you know what? I have to go. I'm going to Hawaii. And I can't rationalize it. Now, that's a soul thing for sure. That is your soul communicating. She has some kind of a divine appointment in Hawaii. And you can't know until you get there what that is. It might be with herself, and that environment would bring out an aspect of her that she hasn't yet allowed in the circumstances she's in. There's no chance for that new self to come forward. You never know. But here's the thing about a soul calling and a soul message. You probably won't get a big rational backstory or reason to follow it. In fact, you may have all kinds of reasons why you won't and haven't up until now. Soul messages are rarely new. We have felt these things over time, but it comes in loud and clear to the point that you cannot ignore it. this is how my teacher taught me about how to experience our soul. Each of us is like 1,000-faceted crystal. And each facet of this crystal is another expression of our soul. We are that complex and that talented, and we have that many opportunities and ways to be who we are because our souls are magnificent. But we often get trapped in routines. It's just let one facet of our soul come out. That facet might be you're a wonderful healer. You might be a great caretaker. You might be a really good support person, or you might be just an excellent school teacher, or you might be a great cook, but you keep just doing the same thing. And now, what a lot of people are experiencing is this awakening of other facets of your soul that have been waiting their turn to come around. And that life up until now hasn't really invited that in spontaneously. I have a client who has wanted forever to go to Italy and study Italian and study cooking and just go have that experience. And she said, instead, I ended up being a school teacher in high school. I ended up being the head of the high school. I ended up being dutiful and invested. And I love my job. I love my kids. But all of a sudden, this year, I have to quit. I have to at least take a sabbatical. I have to go and do this thing that I've wanted to do. Now, I had a strong yearning years ago to take my parents to where they were married during the war. It's like it made no sense to anybody, but I had to take them back. My mother was married when she was 15, and they were married at the end of World War II and in Germany, and it was a big, epic love affair. She had lost her hearing. She had lost her family. She was married they made her dress out of a parachute. The town came together and celebrated. I had to go and see that for myself. It was a soul thing. My siblings were like, what are you doing? And yeah, sure, but I don't feel the same urge, but I did. And I feel like when I went, I got them to agree to go back. And my older sister and her husband went with me at the time. We went on this little pilgrimage back to where my mom met my dad and where they married and where their whole love story, which ultimately landed in me coming into being. It was just really poignant. And when we got off the plane, my mom stepped out of the plane and we were starting out, and she grabbed my hand and she said, it's so weird. Everybody is so beautiful and everything is so calm and lovely, but this old part of me is so scared. And she was observing. She was very wise in observing. And she said, I'm going to just be aware of it. And so we went back to where she lived, and she was dealing with two realities, the one in her memory as a child and the one now when she was it was their 50th anniversary. So it was really a juxtaposition. And as we were walking to where she had been imprisoned as a child, and I could feel her heart beat so strong in my hand. When we were walking, she was silent. And when we got closer and closer to the entrance of where she had been, she gasped and grabbed my wrist. And of course, we all gasped because she was having obviously some kind of big emotional experience. And she looked at the ground and she said, look, flowers. There are flowers here. And we looked at the ground, and there were beautiful flowers coming out of the ground, and it was winter. It was February. And she looked at me and she said, I don't need to go any further. I came to see these flowers and be grateful that we're all here together, and just let that go. And that was for me such a profound, energetic, vibratory experience of forgiveness and letting go and healing and being present and being connected and not being in story, that it literally changed my life. So for her, it was one major healing, but for me, it really set the tone for me about the importance of how you frame anything. Either be a victim or be a creator. Either work in fear or work in love. And our souls are getting our attention to become congruent and to make choices about who we choose to be now. The world is changing and trying to help us remember who we are. We are divine, glorious beings. We are magnificent. I'm not speaking to anyone's ego. I am speaking to the spirit and the soul of who we are. We are absolutely being invited to remember and to give those glorious, magnificent parts of us a chance. So much of our lives have been set up to be in the approval of others or caretaking others or just go with the flow or the minimum to survive or just get by. And the soul communication right now is no, you can have a much more exquisite life experience. You have art in you that may want to express. You have relationships that you may want to yet to encounter. You have locations and you have experiences with Mother Earth and they really need to happen. So I would say be very fluid right now in terms of who you think you are or what you should do, and don't be guilt-tripped. Don't feel bad if you have to change or break routine or show up differently. It's happening to everybody. So on some level, everybody is invited to understand and not guilt trip you or try to keep you connected to who you are not. And don't you do it either. If someone in your life is saying, I got to make a big change and I can't explain it, trust that though this is disruptive, we're all gravitating back into alignment with who we really are. And that's what this period of time is about. It is a soul thing. So your soul isn't tormenting you. It is reminding you that there's a better version of you that wants to have a chance, or a bigger version, or a more expanded version, or a more multifaceted version, that there's more to you than just repeating the same old. If you've had soul experiences and soul messages that you want to share in these comments, please do, because it helps us. We affirm that this is not just my own weird little internal drama, that we're all having these incredibly poignant, attention-grabbing invitations to change things up, and in many cases, quite disruptively. But it's not to cause pain or sorrow. It's to invite us to be our best selves. Please, 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 if you enjoyed this or it spoke to you, leave a comment, because your comments matter. And leave a thumbs up, because that tells me that it's landing, and that helps me to be a better channel, because so much it comes through me is just channeled through the guides. And join us. Please subscribe. Please join us. Become part of this energetic community that we're building to rise up in a way that's grounded and practical, makes sense, but really affirms and allows our most magnificent self to come forward. And if your soul is bugging you and it's not easy to get the memo, then pray and ask for help, because you have a beautiful divine support system there to help you. Don't have to do this alone. Just don't ignore it. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next week. All my love.